I'm glad to be here this morning with people that I've known since I'm a child, Claudette and Armand Vaillancourt.
And we welcome you. We welcome you.
Good, and we're here today to share experiences of your childhood and your youth with your family.
Well,
so maybe you could start by giving us your parents' name.
My dad's name, his real name was Albert Vaillancourt, but they used to call him Guidou. Why, I don't know. The first time I heard his real name, I was 4 years old, and they called him Albert. I didn't know who was he. So somebody said, "That's your dad." And my mom, she's Fernand Bradley. She's from Chelmsford.
So your mother and father were born in Chelmsford?
Born in Chelmsford, born and raised in Chelmsford. We had a corner store, a grocery store in the corner. They called that Guidou's Corner. And we stayed there. We lived there. I had 2 sisters, 7 brothers. And I was in the middle of them all. So...
Would you name them? Your brothers and sisters?
Well, the baby was Claude, Ronald, my sister was Gabrielle, and it was me, Armand, Simon, Fernand, Régent, my other sister Marjolaine, and my older brother was Radolphe, Rudy. Like I said, we were 9 of us, and we were all living under the same roof for a while. And after that, my older brother started working on diamond drill for Bradley Brothers. More or less, my mother's side, they were in business for Bradley Brothers Diamond Drill. And he got married. A couple of years after that, Marjolaine, Simon, and Reg, they got married all in the same day. 3 weddings in the same day. It was a big wedding. Matter of fact, they held it at...
La Salle des Copains?
No, not really. Not at Salle des Copains. But they held it in Chelmsford where the bank is today. Mon oncle, Pépère used to own that. Pépère used to own the building, and they got married there. And after that, we all grew up, and they all went their side. And myself, I went to school not too long. At 16 years old, I quit school, and I started working again on diamond drill. I worked there for 3 years in Chibougamau. Man, it was cold. I had just a little jacket on me, and I had to go into the dry pot there at 30 feet up in the air. The wind was going right through you, and I was not well dressed. And I stayed there for 3-4 years, and after that I started working in the mine as a miner in Elliott Lake, Lacknor.
You worked in Nerdby before that?
No.
Oui, quand on s'est marié.
Yeah, well, I worked in the mine in Elliott Lake before I got married.
Did you?
Yes.
So you're learning new things.
Yeah. I got... Then at 18, 19 years old, I met my beautiful wife. Where we met, it was in Chelmsford. She's Chinois.
Oh,
how do you call it? Chinese restaurant. I met her, and I started talking to her, and I asked her, "What are you doing tonight?" You know what she said? "I'm going out with you."
So they're open.
I said, "I'm going out with you tonight." Oh, that's nice. So that's what started our relationship. Yeah. So a year after that, we got married, and when we got married, I was working for Falconbridge again, if I'm not mistaken, or
no.
Where was I working?
In Nerdby at the missile
base, the missile base in North Bay. I worked there a couple of years too. Then I got hired for Falconbridge.
Yeah.
So you spent most of your life in Chelmsford or Northern Ontario or the city of Greater Sudbury.
That's right.
So from Elliott Lake to North Bay to Chelmsford, then to Chibougamau. You've travelled a bit, but your home
Originally Chelmsford.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, tell me, what kind of parents did you have? Tell me about their character. What kind of person was Guidou?
You knew my dad. They were businessmen. They had a corner store. More or less in them days, it was a grocery store. Today, a little store like we had, and like they had, would call them a confectionery, but them days, 60 years ago, it was a grocery store, eh? And my dad used to work in the store, and my mom too. And my dad, later on, he bought a few trucks, and he started trucking for Nickel Offset in the back. There used to Nickel Offset mine. He used to truck there, and my mom took care of the store, and she was hiring some cook to more or less cook for us and do our
take care of the family.
Take care of the family. Yeah.
Well, you had 7 brothers and 2 sisters. 9 big. It's a big family.
So that's the story of my mom and dad, and then. Like I said, my dad was a trucker for a while, and my mom worked in the store with my older sister, Marge, for a while. And Gabby started working there in the store, too.
So it was a family-run business?
It was a family-run business. I did work a few days there myself, eh? Then, like I said, after that, I went to Diamond Drill. And my dad, I remember I was 14, 15 years old, passed away. And my mom kept the store for a while too. And she kept the store for I don't know how long. And then the government came, the highway came along, and they bought that property because they wanted to make a 4-leaf
Armand,
clover.
elle l'a vendu à Régent.
That's right.
Sold it to your brother first,
That's right.
and then he sold it
to
the government.
To the government.
And where was that grocery store? That was on the 144?
On the corner of 144 and
Arrington
Street. Right. It was on the corner there. And right across there was Mr. Poulin, another gas station. So, but now it's all clover leaves there. Now it's all... And then Reg, my brother, sold it to the government.
Well, tell me, what was life living with the family that worked? How many hours? And they must have spent a lot of hours in that store.
Oh, my God.
What would be memories of your mom and dad?
I
Did you
remember...
really like their qualities?
Yeah.
What kind of people were they?
I remember my mom, especially my mom, and my dad was, like I said, a trucker. My mom opened the store 6 o'clock in the morning for the miners. Because the miner used to pass right in front of our house. They used to stop at the corner, buy pop, chip, whatever they need for their lunch. And at 11 o'clock, they had long hours, 7 days a week, days in, days out. And come Sunday, everybody used to jump in the truck. We had a little panel truck and go to church. Come back, had breakfast, and that was our life, more or less.
Work, go to church on Sunday, and then come back and work. So
Work
you spent
again.
a lot of life.
Oh, yes.
Well, there must have been some celebrations that you had, too.
I remember at Christmas, they had a réveillon. How would you say that in
réveillon.
A réveillon. I remember when I was young, we had to go to midnight mass. And after midnight mass, there was a réveillon, and more or less everybody was at our place in the kitchen and celebrate Christmas, you know. And we used to open our gift and so on and so on. And
it was quite an event.
It was an event. Also, like I said, we were young and we were looking only for that, you know. So.
The gift
and the gift, yeah.
Yeah. Did your grandfather talked about your grandfather and your grandmother? Did you get to know your grandmother?
My grandmother.
What were their names? Tell me their names. And
my grandfather, Abbey. I knew him. He had a cane, walking, and everything. But I never met my grandmother.
She passed away. Very young.
When I was working, I remember that Claudette told me a story about the pair of day. I remember I was working in Chibougamau on diamond drill, and my younger brother got married in Rouen-Arundel.
Claude?
No, Ronnie.
Oh, Ronnie, okay.
He got married there, and of course the family had to go to the wedding. And my wife went with my grandfather, my mother, and who was the driver, I don't know. But she always remember Pepper. I called him Pepper.
Everybody called him Pepper Abbey.
Pepper Abbey, yeah. Every 50, 60 miles, he was starting coughing. Oh, I gotta take some coughing syrup. It was a little Mickey. I gotta take a little syrup to ease my cold, eh? So she's always remembered that. Yeah.
So what was the Vaillancourt family in Chelmsford? They were quite responsible for the development.
Well, Vaillancourt family I'm going back when the power came in, the electricity came in. I was, oh my God, 6, 7 years old, and the power came at night when they put it on. And I remember my mother was going around, and them days we didn't have no switch, pulling wires. And my mother went around and pulled all the lights off, more or less, the one that was on, because the power came on at night for the first time. That I remember that. And I remember the first sign, neon sign in Chelmsford. That's a couple of years after. Vaillancourt Jewelry. That was the first that I know.
That you saw.
That I saw the light.
How were you lighting yourself before?
Kerosene, fuel. Oh yeah.
Des lampes, là.
Des lampes.
Des lampes à l'huile.
À l'huile, yes.
Okay.
That's all we had. We had no choice. I mean,
and how were you cleaning the house? Give me a day in the life of your mother worked at the store.
More work at the store, and.
But you had babysitters? You had
babysitter, and Marge, my older sister. She was helping quite a bit around.
So what would have been the day of a mother then? With no electricity before you got there? You would say you were 6 or 7 when the electricity, probably in the late we were born in 1943.
1940 I was born.
1940, so 1947,
45, 46, 47 that the power came on.
Okay, but how did you function before that? You had you had 9 children. And
we had one lamp there, one lamp in the kitchen, one lamp there, and we used to carry a lamp around if we had to go someplace else, And I remember in the store there was some more or less the lamp that you lit at night, and my mother, like I said, she was always working in the store, and my dad was taking his shift once in a while, was working too once in a while in the store, like going back 6 o'clock in the morning to 10, 11 o'clock at night. Next day, go back at it again. My mother never did work too much in the kitchen itself.
Your sister
the
did.
Washing, the laundry.
How did you wash then?
I remember, that's a little story I got to tell you.
Good.
I remember that when my mom was helping with the washing, we had not electric motor, there was no electric, a little gas motor in the house, and there was a pipe with a hose going outside, and there was a wheel with a fan belt and everything. And I remember my younger brother, Claude, he was walking around with a pail on his head or a box on his head, and he was walking, and he tripped, and he fell on the motor. Well, my mother right away, she grabbed him, but he didn't hurt himself too much. But I remember that when he fell on the motor.
But what did that motor, what was that motor?
Gas motor.
Gas motor, but were you warming the water? Were you heating the water?
Oh yeah, that.
Tell us that.
I remember that we had a wooden stove, and the water was heated in a pail on the stove. She started a couple of hours before. So heat the water there, bucket of water, and I remember those water pump there. We had that in our house, and I remember there was an arm on it, And I remember I was sitting on it and pumping the water. My mom used to call us, come and sit on the pump.
To get water.
To get water, you know. We were kids, and you were sitting on the pump pumping water, eh? I remember that.
So today what do? We take the washing and put it in the wash and dryer, and in an hour it's done.
It's done today, yeah. But I remember that. And I remember that my mother used to, or my sister, it was sometime 35, 40 below the zero. They had to go to put their line, the clothes on the line. She used to bring it in, stiff as a board, you know, froze, but that was them days.
Yeah.
Try to do that today. Oh. But we were sitting at the table, all of us were sitting. I remember my dad was sitting always at the end, my mom there, and the 9 of us, with no problem.
You always had meals together.
I had a meal at his house quite a few times, and it was always potatoes and meat. And
remember the first meal you had in my place?
Oh my God!
Tell us that. Tell us that experience.
You want to say it? Do you want me to tell it? My brother Rudy, you know, he was Rudy. So I just started going out with her, and one Sunday night, she stayed and had supper, and I was sitting here, she was sitting there, and my brother Rudy sitting there, and all the brothers all around, everything, eh? And my brother Rudy, kind of a joker, eh? And she never noticed it. And them days she had a long dress with big pocket, you know. He took a fork off the table and sneak it down her pocket. A few seconds after, or a few minutes after, he said, "Mom, we got a thief here." Mom didn't know what to say. So my brother said, "Well, look at that." She went in the pocket. "Look at the fork here."
Oh my goodness. He was a real joker.
They were jokes. She turned colors.
Oh yeah, and I was shy, and
she nearly cried.
Oh yeah, I didn't know what to say.
But my mom knew what was going on, eh?
She knew the boys.
She knew Rudy, eh? "Hey, we got a thief here. She's got a spoon in her pocket, a fork in her pocket." It was a big joke, eh?
But in this family, there was a lot of joking and nobody was serious in that family.
Was that good?
Yeah, really. Like one night we were watching TV at his house, and it was what was that?
Ed Sullivan Show.
The Ed Sullivan Show, and I don't know what was the joke, but they were laughing their heads, everyone in the family, and I didn't think it was funny. I sat there on the couch and everybody was hilarious. Oh my God, everybody was laughing like crazy. And I said, "What's so funny?" Like, I'm looking at them like they were jolly people, you know, like, oh yeah.
We had no...
Well, life then was simple, eh?
It was simple them days, you know, and...
So I guess you spent a lot of time with the family.
Oh yeah.
You have time.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Well, especially at Christmas and New Year's, everybody, we were looking forward, more or less, after we got married. We were looking forward to get back together and have a little party and have a little drink and so on and so on. Yeah, matter of fact, we were only 5 of us now. And we do like it when we get together and so on and so on. So,
but did you have special days, special events, for example? Your parents were both working. They're working 7 days a week. But did you have that, like, gatherings, like you're talking about watching the Ed Sullivan Show? Yeah. Did you take time as a family to spend time together? What would have been your leisure?
It just happened at night, you know. We were all at home watching TV. But to say, well... this weekend we're going to get all together and make a party. No. But we were all together most of the time at night after the supper was over. Like I said, we were 9 of us, and the oldest Rudy got married, and we were still 8, and Marge.
He was young.
We were.
Rudy was old when he got married.
Oh, Rudy. Florence, Rudy's wife, she was 14 years old.
Unbelievable.
Rudy was 16, 17 years old. And They stayed
But
together.
was that the custom to marry young?
I do
Yeah.
believe them days, yeah, because I was too young. I couldn't go to the wedding. I was too young to go to a wedding. So where was the wedding? I don't know.
So your brother's getting married and you can't go because you're too young.
I was too young.
Well, there was a difference of age there. From Rudy
Oh, yeah, well,
to
Rudy,
Claude
yeah,
and
yeah.
Simon and
Yeah.
Renan. A big difference of age.
There was a
9
big
children.
difference, yeah. Well, like I said, even my three siblings, when they got married, Marge, Reg, and Simon. Myself, I was kind of young too, but I remember where was the wedding at Pepper Abbey's, more or less, is...
Was that on Arrington Street, that
Yeah, that's
hall?
right.
Where the Northwest Number is today?
No.
No.
I'll take it back on Main Street.
Yeah,
it's still there.
I remember there.
Yeah.
Where the bank used to be.
That's right.
It's not the bank now.
What's in there now?
It's
Oh yeah,
they're
that.
selling some to make some.
That's right. It
Oh.
was. It was.
I thought they called that. I remember that hall.
They were selling stuff for restaurant. I remember when
Yes.
I went there myself a couple of
Yes.
times. They were selling stuff for
And now they're
restaurant.
doing some
Tattoo.
tattooing.
Okay, you're right. Well, that was Pepper's place.
I remember
Mon
that.
Cleo and Pepper. That was their place.
Manon who?
Leo.
Leo.
Oh, Leo, Uncle Leo.
Leo.
Yes.
You call it Leo. I call him Cleo. But I think it's Leo. You're right.
Uncle Leo and
Yeah.
then Bertha.
Leo.
That's right.
Oui.
Bertha.
Bertha, yeah, I know
Blais.
them well. Why?
Bertha Blais.
Yes.
Yes.
So talk to me about school.
School, well, like I said, myself, school, I didn't make
But
too-
where did you go to school?
Chelmsford.
And what was the name of the school? Saint Joseph.
Saint Joseph.
Saint Joseph.
I went there to Saint Joseph, and like I said, when I was 16, that's when I started working. The first job that I got was for Vaillancourt Lumber.
What about you? You were telling me about the bus.
Yeah, that's when I was going to school. Yeah, there was bus, La Valley's bus. I remember, because them days there was no pre-garden. There's
No.
pre-garden.
Kindergarten or
Kindergarten, there was none them days. First, second, third, fourth, and so on and so on.
So you started school at what age? At 6 years old?
6 years old, 7 years old. And I remember the first year or two, I was walking Guidou's Corner to Chelmsford. That was 1 mile. We walked there, and I remember I was walking with Marge, my sister, my older sister. Then the bus came along. Yellow bus, La Valley bus line. And they were only for the high school, not for us. But we were lucky in one way. The bus was going to high school, more or less bring the kids, and it was going back to Chelmsford. Us, we used to jump on the bus. He used to stop for us, and he charged us a dime to get on the bus to Chelmsford. I always remember that. Charged us a dime because we weren't walking, we were on the bus now. My dad had a, how would you call it? A station wagon. I remember that when we were going to church, everybody hopped in there and go. He had a station, and I remember my dad. He had that station wagon for a while, a green one. I remember, and then he bought a Plymouth. Vaillancourt Motor was selling Plymouth. You remember that?
Oh, yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, he bought from your dad. Their dad was working there, and I remember he came home with a new car. Plymouth, and it was gray. My mom said, "You go and change that car, battery. I don't like the color." Got in his car, got in a truck, went in Chelmsford, Vaillancourt Motor. He came back with a blue one. Yeah, I remember that. I said,
My
"You
dad
go
was
and change that car now. Go and change that car. I don't like the color." And he bought, if I'm not mistaken, it was a 53 Plymouth. And at the end, it was mine. When my dad died, so on and so on, it stayed in the family. And I bought that for my mother. I think I paid $600 for it, 10 days. And I kept it for a while. Then I bought myself a brand new one after that. Yeah, I remember my dad when he came home with that car.
So you got to know your dad not long, but what kind of guy was he? What
He
was
was-
his
he
character?
was
Talk
happy.
about Albert Guidou Vaillancourt.
He was a heavy smoker, happy-go-lucky, but to be, how would you say that, strict, severe, no, I don't remember.
Never disciplined you
No.
firmly.
Not like my mom. My mom was...
Talk about your mom now,
My
Fernand.
Fernand was
She was
they called her sergeant, more or less. She was strict. But I mean, let's face it, she had 9 kids to raise. My dad was there. Okay, he made some money. He supported her, and so on and so on. But every time we wanted to go to the movie or do something, you want something? Go and ask your mom. Ask that. Go and ask your dad. Yeah, I remember that. So that's...
They got along well. They had 9
Oh, yeah.
children.
Oh, yeah, 9 children.
And they balanced.
I never heard them argue. Never heard them, like some people argue in front of their kids. I never did. Never did, yeah. So.
Now I want you to talk to me about your grandfather, Abby. Père Abby. And did you get to know his wife?
Not
Anna
too
Leroux.
much.
I think it was Anna Leroux, huh? Père,
Yes, you're right. Yeah, myself, I don't remember her. I don't. She died before I got.
You were born?
Yeah, born, I guess. So.
But talk to me about Pépère and his
Pépère, like
brother. Did you know his brothers too? Talk about Pépère.
Pépère,
Abby Vaillancourt.
Well, you know yourself where my house was. Pépère was right next to us, and you were the other way. So one on each side. Vaillancourt on both sides. Yeah, I remember Pépère, yeah. And every day we used to walk at Cécile, ma tante Cécile, visit him. And he was, at the end, he was in his bed, and he was talking about, he loved horses.
Yes.
Race horses, he loved them. Then he's talk about his talk, and so on and so on, He was interesting,
And what kind of business did he start? You talked about that dance hall that he had.
He had some dance. He had a hardware store. And then his kids, Leo, he had the theater. And the other guy, Abbe, had the lumber company, Vaillancourt Lumber. Us, we had the grocery store. Philemon, I think he was trucking too for a while. They were all in business, And there was quite a few business, Vaillancourt and Chelmsford, them days now. Now today it's hardly...
The Northland,
Northland Hotel.
And then Uncle Raoul and...
Uncle Raoul, who's Uncle Raoul? He's not close to me. And Uncle Raoul was a cattleman, right?
Yes, a farmer, a cattleman. But he owned the general store on the corner of Arrington and Maine.
Yes, that's right.
With Mary Coyne. His wife was Aunt Mary, and he had 2 girls.
Yeah, and
Ray McChrystal was married to Grace.
That's right.
And then there was Margaret Yannick.
Yes, Yannick, yeah, I remember.
Married to Jimmy Yannick.
Yeah, I remember both of them. I remember Ray McChrystal. He was another trucker too. And Yannick, I remember them too, but just faithfully, Do you know Emile?
Yes, Emile Baptiste.
Baptiste, yeah.
One.
Yeah, he was a cop. He's my...
Godfather.
Oh, okay.
He was my godfather. He was living in Nordby for a while as a cop for CPR.
So they were all close, eh?
Oh, yeah, we're all, there was nobody that was living. There was only mon oncle Emile for a while, was living out of town in Nordby. Then he came back in Chelmsford, and he built himself a house behind the Northland that they used to own. Mm-hmm. But on my mother's side...
They were all born in Chelmsford, too?
They were all born in Chelmsford. In that house here, like I showed you a while ago, where was it? There's here. In that house. They were all born there.
Oh, that was on Arrington Street.
That was mine for a while.
That's a beautiful home.
Oh, yeah, it's still there. It's
an historical home.
Well, the dentist is gone.
Yeah, the dentist is gone, or they're still there?
The dentist bought it from John Doe, and his son is living there now. But Bradley's...
Just across from the garage, from the Vaillancourt garage.
Not quite.
Not quite, but not far.
You know where my brothers used to be? Rudy's confectionery? Rudy's store? Right in front of him.
Oh.
Grocery store.
It was used to be Rayon. You remember Mr. Rayon?
I remember the Rayons.
Well, my older brother bought that. And
talk to me about your grandfather and your grandmother, Bradley.
Bradley, my grandfather,
John
Bradley, I remember vaguely of seeing him.
So it was John Bradley married to whom?
What was her name, Mamere?
Okay, well, Mamere.
I remember my uncle John, Pepper John, had a cyst, they call that, right in here. And it was big. You couldn't notice it right away, especially me when I was just a kid, eh? And I remember seeing what he had then not too long after that, he did die. And
did you visit Pepper and Mamere, Bradley?
Mamere, yes, Mamere. I remember. Pepper, I didn't have time to visit him because he died. I was really young. And I remember Mamere, Bradley, stayed there for, as long as she could. And every time she needed something, a little job around the house, she used to call me. And one time, for some reason or another, she called me, and I was in school, and I had to do something. And I told the teacher, I gotta go out, I gotta go and help my grandmother. The teacher didn't believe me. So she phoned my grandmother. Did you call Armand? Yeah, I did call her. Why did you have phone for that? I remember.
Oh yeah, the grandmother was.
Yeah, so I used to go and help her to pick up some leaf or something, yeah. But I don't recall her too much because, like I said, she died a long time ago. And all my uncles, I should say.
Yeah, your mother's brothers.
Yeah.
What was the family there? How many?
Oh my God.
How many children? There
That's,
was Fernand, there was Walter. Do you
Fernand,
remember?
Walter. Today it's still running. Bradley Brothers Diamond Drill. Today it's still running. It's them. And I remember when I started working, I worked for them in Chibougamau. There was Edgar. Off there.
Percy.
Percy was the violin player.
No,
Percy?
No, stop. Percy.
Larry.
Larry was the violin player.
Violin player.
You had one uncle that was the priest.
Yeah, Walter.
One that flew plane. He died in his plane.
Yes, Simon.
No, c'est Percy Sarlet.
That's Percy. You're right. Percy died in
the plane crash.
Yeah,
So they were quite an influential family.
Oh yeah, they're still
Chelmsford.
to me. They were all business.
They were all business people
business,
also.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all business and not small business, not heavy business. They're still in it too, and they're worth it. So I knew them like that, eh?
But your Pépère Rabbi, do you remember something moving close to him?
Oh, like I said, Pépère Rabbi, I was visiting every day at his place, and he was, at the end, like I said, he was laying on his bed, and, and he wasn't moving too much, and when he did die, we knew only the day after. We walked in there, I said, well, how's Pépère? And my tante said, well, he died yesterday. Oh? Of course I was working, she was keeping the kids and so on and so on. But Pépère Abbé, like I said, I remember he was still he was a businessman too.
And he had he was a friendly man.
Oh yes.
Very friendly.
Very friendly. So, for my relative, like I said, my grandfather, my grandmother, and my tante, Mamere, I never met her.
So with ma tante Cécile, you would have known ma tante Cécile well.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of woman was
She
Cécile Bélanger, married to Vaillancourt?
Vaillancourt.
Oh.
Yeah, she used to drink Coke.
Yes.
Oh my good God. She didn't buy the Coke at the store. The truck was going at his place.
At her place.
At her place.
Yeah.
Buying from the truck 7-8 cases a week.
Oh,
and did you visit her?
Oh yeah.
Cécile, oh yeah, every day.
She used to live with Pepea.
Yeah. Yeah, and she used to, like I said, and them days was only small bottles. There was no big bottles, only small bottles. I remember 6-7 cases every week.
The truck would drop off
at his...
And take the empties?
Yes, oh yeah, take the empties. Oh yeah, and she used to drink Coke like it was going out of style.
And we used to visit her for a bottle
there you
of
go.
Coke.
You know yourself. You know yourself.
We didn't have the Coke at home, but we'd go to Aunt Cecile.
And Papa, Manon Valmar.
Oh, yes.
Hey, I won't talk too much of him, but
Well, he was a good man.
oh, he was.
loved
Oh, you
children.
had his heart that big. I mean, yeah.
Valmont Bélanger, who
Valmont.
was born and raised in Isilda here.
Yeah,
that's right.
His
Yeah.
brother's
Yeah.
family.
I remember Valmont. I remember when the Skidoo came out, the snow machine came out. He had bought one from himself. You know, them days he was kind of young too, eh? So he used to go to Mine Mill. Chums are behind it. And he went there with his Skidoo, with his snowbug or whatever it is. For some reason or another, he took the ditch. It's real bad. What he did, he called a tow truck. Instead of walking back in the hotel, asked for some help or something, he called a tow truck to. But I remembered to pull his machine out of the ditch. That's when
I knew him well.
Yeah. At the corner, we knew everybody around. Mr. Castonnier across the street. Mr. Dubois the other side. Mr. Leroux down the lane. We knew everybody. You know, them days. Today, I don't know if it's going to be. You know, we knew everybody. We if we needed something, if they needed something, they come in our place. You know, that was the, like you said, good old days. You know?
So if you had to give, donner un avis, if you had to give des mots de sagesse, wisdom to your grandchild or to the youth in general, or to even the older people, what would you give them as an advice? And you're looking back at 40 years in the past. You loved the way your parents raised you. You spent a lot of times with family and friends, and you knew everybody. You knew Mr. Castonguay, everybody in downtown.
Yeah.
But if you had to give words of wisdom to children today.
Well, today, I mean, if myself, I was really going back at 16 years old, I started working. At 29, 30 years old, I did start in business. I was in business, hotel business. I had 2 hotels, and we did success in business. It's a good thing she was there. The word is, as far as I'm concerned, don't cheat nobody. Equal, you know. Serve everybody equal. Don't talk about them. Just serve them. Do your job, and you'll succeed. That's in the business, because we've been in it for 40-some years.
And do the children have the support that you had as families? I'm listening to you both, and mostly Armand. It seems like the support that you had, even though there was discipline in your home, but there was support. The families cared about you, and you said if someone needed something, or if you needed something, there was always someone there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though life has changed, you still believe that there is hope?
Yeah, I do believe, I mean, if one of my son or my relative would come here and said, Armand, I need this, I need that, can you help me? I'll be there right away.
Yeah. We're always there to support. Always. What they make
That's
of it
ours.
afterwards, well, then sometimes it's a different story. But the support is always there.
And why support?
Because we love them. If they're our kids, we love them.
And you want the best for them.
That's right.
You got that.
That's right.
If I'm listening to you both,
Yeah.
you got that when you were young. You
Yeah.
weren't rich.
Yeah.
You were making 95 cents.
Cents an
Yeah. And now we're...
I remember when I was working in North Bay again, going back to North Bay, well, that was one of my first job in the mine. 95 cents an hour, and we were not eating steak every night. Spaghetti is seeing the cheapest you could get.
Bologna then.
Bologna was
What, 10
was a
cents a
treat.
pound?
Yeah, was a treat. Oh my God, yeah. But like I said, we pulled through. We made through, and I made some.
Lots of sacrifices.
And then we started in business. I walked one night and I said, Claudette, I'm buying an hotel. She said, are you crazy? No, but us Vaillancourt were in business, eh?
We're business people.
Business people. So after I bought the Webwood Hotel, we kept it for a while, and then I bought the Dowling. The Dowling never got off the ground. Never got off the ground. You know what I'm talking about? all the people that had it, they couldn't make a go out of it.
And you were able to.
Oh.
Yeah.
But we
did
were
well.
lucky. We got there.
Well, lots of work.
Lots of work even in. Those rooms, they were a mess. And there's a contractor came along and said, he was putting water and sewer. He said, I need some rooms. They'll be ready for you.
And that's where you made the success
Yep.
at your entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Very good.